side of my business, Wax On Studio. I am technically at work today, but I'd rather talk about knitting. So I'm sort of combining content channels here by filming from Wax On, but for my Happy Go Crafty channel, which is primarily knitting. I just cast on for my New Year's sweater, my get me through the doldrums of January sweater. Pay no attention to the fact that I already have another sweater on the needles. Sometimes you just need more than one sweater at once. I kind of have plans to cast on a third one too, because anything you can do to get yourself through January in a stressful year is okay. So what I want to talk to you about today is reducing the appearance of yarn overs in your knitting. Sometimes you really want to see your yarn overs, like when you're doing lace knitting, when you're using them as decorative increases. There's a bunch of different reasons why you would want to see your yarn overs, but sometimes you do not. And I think, of course, all of this is just my aesthetic opinion, man. I think that in the sweater that I just cast on for, this gorgeous Willow pullover by a fellow Asheville knitter, Andrea Gaughan, you do not, rather I should say, I do not want to see my yarn overs. So this brilliant stitch pattern is created by alternating sections of stockinette and reverse stockinette. This is a bottom-up sweater, which I never do. So I'm excited that choosing this pattern is going to sort of push me into a different construction methodology that I, to be honest, flip and ignore most of the times, where I'm like, I'm a top-down girly. I really like to try it on as I go and be able to dial in the length of the sweater to my own, personal standards of the day. But this is challenging me to have an idea of my length that I want. I'm gonna scoot back a little bit. The length that I want to begin with, and then to knit bottom up from there, which is the first two sweaters that I ever made were bottom up, and those were in like 2006 and 2007. By the way, I should say I am wearing Ann Tilley's magic pants. I mean, I sewed them. They are not her pants, but she wrote the pattern, so they kind of are her pants. This is not a show off video about those, but they are so comfortable and I love them so much. Okay. Plug over. So let me switch to an overhead view and show you what I'm talking about as far as visible yarn overs and making them invisible go. Okay, so without giving too much away here for this pattern, because this is a purchasable pattern and this is Andrea's living, so I don't want to spoil the surprise. Here is what I'm talking about. And actually, let's slip this fabric inside here. This is a cotton gauze eco-printed bag. So the first round that I did when I started knitting this pattern, I didn't know to do the yarn over trick. And so you can see here, if you look at this row, you can see my very visible yarn overs in between every change. So every row that you change your stockinette for your reverse stockinette, you move it around so you can see my big holes. You use a yarn over with a corresponding decrease, par for the course. You may notice that on all my other switches here, so I've done, how many switch rows have I done? 1, 2, 3, and I'm about to do my 4th. These switch rows, I did not do a very visible yarn over, and so I like this look a lot better. I hope that's making sense what I'm talking about. So let's jump into how I did it. I don't want rows like this down here. See how much you can see through there for every hole? I do want rows like this where you don't get nearly as much peek through for your yarn overs. Let's compare open yarn overs and closed yarn overs. Okay, so you make your yarn over exactly the same way as normal, right? So step one is just to do a normal yarn over, and this is happening here after a slip, slip, knit. So I just wrap my yarn over, And then there is a symmetrical one. Again, don't want to give too much away for this pattern, but I'm gonna this time do my yarn over before my knit two together. So just normal yarn overs. Let's see it again. Here is a yarn over after a slip, slip, knit. So just boop, there you go. Knit to the next one. Now we're gonna do one beforehand and do my knit two together. So you just make your yarn overs as normal, right? There they are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc., etc. So that's step one. And then step two happens on the next round when you get to your yarn over, right? So there's my yarn over. I'm coming up to it. So I'm gonna knit this one and then here it is, right? So in normal times, you would just knit your yarn over as it presents, right? And it makes this giant hole. But what I'm gonna do is, it started like that, right? That's how it looked. I am going to twist my yarn over. And that makes it look much smaller. So let's see it again. When you get to another yarn over, here comes one. I am going to twist it. There we go. And it's a much tighter fit, as you can feel. And we call this knitting it closed, right? So instead of knitting your yarn over open, which would be to go in here in the big space, I'm gonna knit it closed. And I'm using my fingertip to kind of help me line it all up and wedge it in there. I'm knitting it twisted, which results in a much, much smaller opening. So there's one, there's one, there's one. You really won't be able to see it nearly as much as you would if you knit them open. So I'm just a couple pattern repeats into this sweater, but I'm already loving the feel and the look of it. It's so fun. As a weaver, as a basket weaver and a knitter, I'm really enjoying creating a basket weave fabric in a bottom-up sweater. So yeah, I would say stay tuned, but who knows? You know, I'm not really in the habit of making knitting videos on this channel right now, but maybe now that I've started, 2025 will be my year and I'll do updates on this. And I will create a vertical version to go on Instagram and all of that stuff. And man, hats off to all content creators because it is like a whole nother job. You make the thing, but then you film the thing and then you edit the thing, you put it up. I'd rather just make the thing, but it is nice to share information. So thanks for watching.